Hey everybody, we're going to start here in just a second. I'm just posting some links to the live stream right now. Give me just a second, we're going to start here. Just posting some stuff, and I want to make sure everything runs smooth. Alright, hold on. I thought you hinted that TK was wrong and said that this would never happen. I never said Tim Kuniskis was not coming back. I said he wouldn't be the CEO of the company. I don't see Tim becoming the new CEO for the entire company. He's back for the Ram brand, but we'll see. There's some stuff, interesting things that I've heard, like things from people I know inside the company. I guess TK was right. TK was right. Now, don't get me wrong. I talk to TK sometimes. Some of his stuff's kind of far-fetched, but for the most part, he does have some reliable sources. However, again, he's not coming back to save the entire company. He's focusing on the Ram brand. But this is big news for Ram. So if anybody who's joining in wasn't, aware, obviously it's all over the internet. I wanted to get on here tonight to talk about some stuff about it. Was Tim Kuniskis is returning to Stellantis. Now, if you remember back in May, Tim announced that he was retiring almost effective immediately. He only gave like a week's notice. Or no, it was like, it was like 2 weeks notice, basically. They announced the thing, I think, on May 17th. I have to go back and look, but I think it was May 17th. And effective June 1st, he was retiring from Chrysler. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people know Tim just because of the Dodge brand and stuff like that. But Tim's actually got a really cool career. He's been with, he was with Stellantis, or if you want to say Chrysler, Daimler Chrysler, FCA. He's with the company for 32 years. So, there's a lot of cool things about, if you look at Kuniskis, I can't talk. If you look at Tim's career, at Kuniskis' career, I can't talk tonight, I don't know why. But anyways, if you look at his career, he actually started, working in dealer relations with the company. And he went from there to working in marketing. And then he was tapped after a really weird situation. He was tapped to be the Fiat CEO for North America back in 2010. That's how he became a CEO for the company. A really weird thing that was going on right at that point was the woman who was put in charge originally to bring Fiat back to North America. She got fired because she was having an inappropriate relationship with one of the marketing guys from a company that they were doing marketing from. So she got fired, Tim got brought in. But Tim had a vast knowledge of dealer networking and running the different dealer centers. So he ran stuff out in the Midwest. If you've never met Tim, I've met him quite a few times. He's a nice guy, super nice, down-to-earth guy, and he's a huge muscle car guy. Believe it or not, growing up, he actually had a Pontiac Trans Am, you told me. So, and now we see him out on Woodward quite a bit. He's got a 2018 Dodge Demon, and he's got a 2023 Dodge Demon 170. But he also had a Viper. I don't know if he's still got the Viper or not, but he's always out doing stuff on Woodward. He's at car events all the time in Detroit. So if you walk in to M1 Concourse and go to Cars and Coffee, a lot of times you'll see him. He's very active in the car community. He also has a really killer, before he even became the Dodge CEO, he actually had and he still has it, is a 1971 Dodge Challenger. So you've probably seen pictures of him with that car in the background, but he is a die-hard car guy through and through. He's the kind of person that the company actually really needed in the company to actually boost, awareness and whatnot. Let's see here. According to TK, they will split Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram off as its own company, still owned by Stellantis and Ferrari. I'll get more into that, but I don't see. See, this is all speculation. Nothing's been said yet. It's too new. You got to remember, Tavares got fired last week. It's not like they had this stuff in planned, for long term. There's a lot of stuff going on very fast right now at Stellantis, trying to turn the company around. And if you go back to last week, the reason why Tavares was fired was there was no long-term plan. He was retiring in 2026 when his contract was up, and he was just cutting at the company. He did stupid things, like besides laying off 2% of your North American workforce, mainly software engineers, when you're launching an all-new electrical vehicle architecture, and then having problems on it, and then calling out the assembly line guys that were putting the vehicle together as the problem. It didn't work out. What I heard was they spent tens of millions of dollars moving the trucks around from Shap to actually take them to places like CTC, and then I have photos of this stuff. I've shared them with TK and Butter the Insider and stuff. It was pretty interesting about they had huge tents out there, and they were bringing people from other parts of the world, like from India, Morocco, and that were software engineers to fix these issues out in the parking lot of CTC. Literally at the Chrysler Tech Center, there was literally hundreds of Ram 1500 pickups, and he spent tens of millions of dollars having to transport them back and forth. It's been a mess. But that's what happens when you make cuts. It's gotten so bad that some of the plants, they decided, hey, we're not going to cut the grass as much anymore. We're not going to provide as much security at the plants for our employees. So one plant, which was Shap, which if you're into this stuff as much as I am, and you do your research, the union guys over at Shap, they have a podcast that it's very active every week. And they talk about stuff that goes on in the plant. And I'm always listening to it, and it's really interesting because, as everybody knows, the Ram 1500 is obviously the company, not North America, but the company's number one selling product. It's also probably the number one money maker for the company. So that product is very important to Stellantis. But these guys share a lot of information that's going out there to their union members, but the public can listen to it too. And one of the things that what really caught me, kind of shocked me, was the security cutback to the point where they were telling their employees if you drove a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram product, basically if you drove a Chrysler 300, a Dodge Charger, Dodge Durango, certain Jeep Grand Cherokees, Ram 1500s, especially if you had a TRX or whatever, and if you drove, a Challenger, any kind of Challenger, not to bring them to work. Because people were stealing cars on every shift out of the parking lot, and security wasn't doing nothing about it. And I'm not talking about the stuff that's built there, because that stuff happens too. I'm talking about the employees' cars, because people could drive right into the employee lot and go right up to these cars, steal them. And so employees were working on the line all day and come out and their car's gone. And this was not a one-time thing. This is happening all the time. So they actually told people, don't bring your nice cars to work. That's how crazy all these cuts were going. The Italian unions, they were ticked off at Tavares because he told them, hey, I want to cut, at, what was it, the Melfi plant? He told them that he wanted to cut half the bathrooms down, close them, because they were unnecessary. Now, mind you, most of the plants here in Metro Detroit are 5 million square foot. That plant, I believe, is 4 million square foot. And 4 million square foot's a lot to walk around. So if you're at your workstation and you have to use a bathroom far off and somebody's got to come replace you on the line, it wrecks morale big time. The Italian unions were against him. The UAW was against him. So there was a lot of fires that need to be put out. So what they're doing now, according to what Stellantis is actually saying, is they're trying to fix things and try to move forward very quickly. They want to make sure that this new CEO, whoever they pick, is going to come in and not have to constantly put out the fires, and that they can focus on fixing things. So like today, it was announced, and there's going to be an article tomorrow morning on Mopar Insiders, that Stellantis has reapplied for an application to go back to the European like the Automakers Association, and what they do there is they actually, like BMW, Mercedes, Toyota Europe, a bunch of other automakers get together and they actually go against like the European regulations on emissions, okay? Because this whole EV thing isn't working in Europe. EVs are being pushed back in Europe. Hybrids have taken off big time, and a lot of the automakers are pushing hybrids right now. However, even up until like the last month, Tavares was against all this stuff. He was like, "Hey, we've spent all this money on EVs. We're going forward. We don't need to be part of their group." He canceled basically what their kind of contract. It's like an agreement to join them to fight the EU emission stuff last year in September. I mean, it's just crazy, like all the stuff that he did. So there's damage on all fronts. So what John Elkann's doing right now is he's trying to try to settle some of these fires. And one of the best things he could have done was bring Tim Kuniskis back into the company. It's no surprise that Kuniskis left. It had nothing to do with, like, I don't think Hellcat production and stuff like that. I think it was just these crazy, unmeetable goals that had to do with the company. Now, everybody keeps talking about a V8 coming back and stuff like that. As far as I know, there's no plans for a V8. All my sources say that they're not working on a V8 right now. They have tried to, like, they've honestly looked at putting a V8 in the new Charger, which I got to drive last night, the new Charger Daytona. I drove it for like 4 hours. It was, I can't talk about my driving impressions yet. You'll have to wait till the 12th. But it was very interesting nonetheless. But they wanted to take, and they were looking at doing that. But the thing is, they have to re-engineer the car. It's not built for that architecture, like a V8 architecture. So according to my sources, the strut towers are too far inboard. So they would have to re-engineer the whole car. Now, could we see a V8 come back eventually, maybe like during a mid-cycle refresh of the car? We could. But the problem is like the 5.7 and 6.4, their days were numbered anyways. The Hurricane has been in development since 2013. That's when it started. And the whole purpose of the Hurricane engine was to replace the 5.7 and 6.4 engines. The original plan was back in 2019 was to make sure that the Hellcat engines would keep going on. So if you wanted a V8, you would have to go to an SRT vehicle, which makes sense in a way. But unfortunately, because Tavares cut those credits out and said, hey, we're not doing anything with credits, like we're not buying any credits from Tesla anymore, it kind of screwed them, so they had to get rid of this stuff. And I'm going to go off on a tangent here, too. The interesting thing that people don't understand right now, and I have people that are good friends of mine in Windsor that work at the Windsor plant, and I'm not just trying to, like, I don't try to boast, like, I have friends here and friends here. Being in Detroit, a lot of my friends have actually work at the company. I know a lot of people in the company doing this kind of job. Being an automotive journalist, you meet people at different events and stuff, so you do a lot of networking. But as a car person here in Metro Detroit, one of the groups I hang out with is over across the border is the Windsor Modern Mopar Group, and a few of their members actually work at Windsor, and they're always sending me stuff and talking about stuff, because they're just as concerned as we are about the company. But with the new Charger launch over there, they were talking about how what people don't understand is it hasn't been a lot of issues with what Stellantis is doing with the car. It's been supplier issues. You have an all-new car, you're doing new things, and a lot of stuff has to do with supplier issues. Like right now, I've had 3 people tell me that one of the only reasons why the car is still in containment is they are held up right now to release those cars because of about 150 Scat Pack models that were early builds. Now, Bilstein develops the shocks for those, and there's something wrong from the supplier. So they have to go back through, find those cars, and basically change the shocks out on them. And they're still doing minor software updates. So, like the car I drove yesterday had a software update, like literally the day before. So the cars are constantly getting software updates. So, yeah, that stuff's holding them back. And the big reason why that's holding them back, and it's a trouble thing, it's not about them not being able to sell it as a, like, we can change the paperwork and make it a 2025 or whatever. But the biggest problem is the U.S. and Canadian governments give them money to meet targets, okay? And they're paying them to build this EV stuff. So the charger has to be delivered by, like, it has to leave the plant. All those chargers, or in the holding lots, like where they're being contained in Detroit and Windsor, which they've built about 4,000 cars right now. Like actually over 4,000 cars, but they've built roughly 4,000 cars that are waiting to go to dealers. They have to release those by the end of the year, because what happens is that money that they're getting from the governments is actually paying for those credits that they didn't buy for the Hellcats for 2023. So the new Charger Daytona is actually in place right now. That's why they this is the whole reason why they launched the EV first, is because they wanted those credits so they can put it towards what their emissions credits penalties were back 2 years ago. So I was explaining that the other day, and it kind of made sense. But there's a whole bunch of things going on right now. So, like I said, there's fires everywhere, and it's very interesting. Hold on here. I want to see what it says. TK also said Tim K was going to head either Pontiac or Ford. Mopar YouTuber. So, yeah, the Pontiac thing was kind of funny because Pontiac never even admitted that they wrote it or not. That ad that said that the Trans Am basically was hinting that the Trans Am and the Pontiac brand were back. GM right now is under fire. Like they stopped their production at the Fort Wayne plant. If you know anything about GM production, they're cutting people too. It's just this whole push from EVs, and now that the Trump administration's coming in, they're going to ease up on it, and they don't have to build all these EVs, but they're trying to meet quota before the Trump administration comes in, because Biden has promised them all this money. And if you look at the Canadian government as well, Justin Trudeau is on his way out. I follow a lot of Canadian politics just because I have an interest in it, and the way it's looking right now is the Conservatives are going to take over up there, and the Liberals are going to lose, probably be like the fourth party instead of being the first party. So you're going to see a whole bunch of reversals up there too. So I don't think they expected this whole like Trump and Polyev wave to come through, and now they're making plans like, hey, we got to get this stuff out, get our money before everything changes. So, but GM, I mean, it would be cool if Pontiac came back. It would be nice to see competition with Dodge again, but yeah, I doubt it will happen anytime soon. It takes a lot of money to revise a brand and stuff like that, and it'll be very interesting. I know there's a lot of stuff in the works for Dodge. It's not like they're just going to have 3 vehicles. You know, obviously we're going to get a new Durango and stuff, but I've heard things in the pipeline that they're working on, and it sounds pretty interesting. So, but going back to Kuniskis. So, bringing Kuniskis in, what people don't understand is Tim has actually, he's the only CEO that worked at Stellantis, even now. Because his job today wasn't like it's starting in January. It starts today. His job is said effective immediately. His for day one job for Ram brand CEO was today. So what the funny thing is people don't realize is Tim is the only CEO person, any person in the company that has run all of the U.S. operation brands. He's ran Chrysler, he's ran Dodge, he's ran Jeep, he's ran Fiat, he's ran Ram, he's ran Alfa Romeo, and even Maserati. So he's the only person that has run all of the core brands here in North America. So he was also part of the when he was FCA, he was also part of the board of directors. So Tim actually had a say in the company, what they did and stuff. So Tim's role is more than just building Hellcats and stuff. And Tim has a plan in place, but as we've seen in the last couple of days, Stellantis is all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if you're in North America or Europe, all of a sudden we're starting to see this pushback against EVs. And now it's going towards like hybrid technology. Even here in North America, like one of the things Tim's walking into is they have Christine Fuel, who he's replacing, who replaced him, who's the Chrysler CEO still. She said at the LA Auto Show last week that they're pushing Ram 1500 Rev, the new all-electric battery electric Ram 1500, back by almost 6 months. Now, the Ram Charger, that range-extending vehicle, that vehicle is going to be launched at the same time it was originally planned, but the battery electric version, the all-electric version, is not. So there's a lot of things going on. We're seeing that they're getting involved with the the European automakers to fight emissions again. We're seeing EVs pushed back. Antonio Filosa, who's the Jeep CEO, and now he'll be the guy that Kuniskis is reporting to. He's now the COO of North America. He is, he said at the LA Auto Show that Jeep is going to be launching the new Cherokee next year. They're going to build a Cherokee that's kind of similar in size to the Wagoneer S. It's going to be built on the same line, same platform, the Stella Large platform and all that. But it's going to be launched as a hybrid. And if you go on Mopar Insiders, you can see the whole article I wrote about it. It's an all-new engine, or not all-new engine. It's an engine that was originally a PSA engine, or Peugeot engine, that's been redeveloped for Chrysler use. It's a turbocharged 1.6 liter, and it's going to be built in Michigan. And it's going to be powering the new Cherokee as the only powertrain. There's not going to be a Cherokee BEV. There's going to be a hybrid. And Antonio Filoso's actually even said that the new Recon, which is we've seen on spy photos on Mopar Insiders, is actually going to be also be available, more than likely, as a hybrid electric vehicle. And that will probably share the same powertrain that the Cherokee has. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, and they've been hinting for a while that they're looking at hybrids, but now all of a sudden this week we're hearing like this pushback on EVs that is kind of following the same suit that Ford and GM are doing now. So let's see here. Old's an all-electric brand dumped with stuff. Yeah. Christine Fuel. Hey, TK. Christine Fuel. She's very interesting. I've met her. She's a really nice lady. She's very nice. I met her at the Detroit Auto Show back 2 years ago when I ordered my 300. I was actually, if everybody that follows this channel, they know that I had a 2023 Chrysler 300C. I actually ordered it while I was there at the unveiling. And I had a chance to talk to her. She was swamped by media people, but I only talked to her for maybe like a minute and a half. It was a very brief thing. It was the only time I actually met her face-to-face and talked to her. Very nice lady. She comes from Honeywell, but she doesn't really have a huge car background. And the interesting thing that cracks me up about her is she came to the company in 2001. And if you look at the main core brands for North America, so if we what I call the main core brands are Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Fiat, and Ram, because that's what the main dealers are. Maserati and Alfa Romeo are kind of like on their own kind of plane there. But she is the longest, or how can I say it? She is the senior CEO of the brands after Kuniskis left and Jim Morrison left. And really, if you look back at her tenure at Chrysler, there is a lot of stuff from what I hear going on about the Chrysler brand. She admitted this past week at the LA Auto Show that they were going to they have pushed back, I think, the new crossover by a couple months, but they're building an all electric minivan that's going to have the name Pacifica on it, which will be different than the current minivan, which is a Pacifica and a Pacifica hybrid, and those models will continue production for now, but they're going to get it revised for 2026, like basically small updates. So there's stuff going on at the brand, but has she delivered anything? No. She was when she came to the company, within a week they announced the 300 was being discontinued. The only thing she's really done is under her tenure they've introduced a couple of limited edition Pacificas. You've seen the Road Tripper. You've seen what's the other one? The new one, the FAV, the Family Adventure Van, and which basically has a Thule hard shell case on top. It's the same thing as a Road Tripper. It's just it has like a Thule case on top. And she introduced an autism package for basically it's a thing that goes over the back of the seats, and it's for kids with autism that they can kind of play with stuff and kind of like keep themselves busy in the car. So really, those are like the highlights of her running the Chrysler brand. The big one was the Halcyon concept. The Halcyon concept is a pipe dream concept. I'm sure you guys seen. It doesn't even look like a Chrysler vehicle. I mean, it's kind of sad in a way, but we'll see. But that thing was just a waste of money. It was that whole thing. What really pissed me off was if you guys had ever seen the Chrysler Airflow concept vehicles. That thing was about as production ready as possible. It wasn't the most attractive. Matter of fact, we'll bring it up. I'll bring it up right now because I think you guys should. Hold on here. Chrysler. Oops. Chrysler Airflow concept. So the last time I seen this car, I've seen all the different variants of it. This is the last time I seen it was at the Detroit Auto Show back in 2023. This thing was production ready. It looked, even though it was a concept, it was production ready. It had basically it's a Stella Large 5-passenger crossover. Now instead of having like huge horsepower gains, like compared to like the Charger or the Wagoneer, basically what this one had was two 201 horsepower EDMs. So it made a 402 horsepower. It was made to make like maximize range, not to be fast. But the thing was, they were going to offer it like in 400 volt and 800 volt with the possibility of having a performance model of it. Now, while it's not the most attractive crossover, it actually was, like I said, not only production ready looking and pretty well finished. They had built several models of this, and they had test meals out running. The problem was she didn't think the styling was up to par for where she wanted to see the brand, and they canceled this. Now, mind you, they have a vehicle that's going to be ultimately what this was, but it's going to have totally different styling, and it pushed it back by almost a year to redevelop the styling, which is supposed to be inspired by the Halcyon. The problem with the Chrysler brand is it needs product, just like many of the other brands do. Like, when I went and drove that Charger Daytona last night, when I was talking to my buddy who has it, we were talking about it. Like, this car needs to be in dealerships so people can see it. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, I seen that car in September or August of 2022 when it came out as the Banshee. I've seen it in several different things. When it was the Banshee in 2022, when it was at this show in 2013 at Detroit, there was nobody around it. Like, nobody, because everybody had seen it. It wasn't exciting anymore. But they need to get product out in dealers. And I understand that they don't want to launch something that they're going to have problems with, but the reason why all this EV stuff was pushed forward and not... Here's some other pictures of the Airflow. The reason why all this EV stuff was pushed forward was because they wanted to make money from the governments to pay for those credits that they weren't buying from Tesla anymore. So all this Daytona stuff that they get as a bonus from the governments for building EVs is going to pay for all that Hellcat stuff for emissions for 2023. So that's why the EV stuff was pushed. I don't understand why they didn't explain that to us. People would have probably understood more. But I was one of those people who said it was stupid that they didn't build the six-pack first. I think it was stupid. Since I posted my article on Mopar Insiders announcing that they were going to move the six-pack basically up 5 months, there's been so many people have wrote emails to me saying that they're so excited about that car. And a lot of people still hate it because it's not a Hemi. But if you can produce a car, as long as the value is there, meaning like it's not overly priced, I think that car is going to sell really good. Because just by the demand of it, it sounds like people are ready for something new. The honest to God problem that Tim Kuniskis is going to come in and face at Ram is something that he's been dealing with, and I think he kind of had his hands tied behind his back, was the fact that Stellantis vehicles are overly priced. I bought a 2019 Ram 1500 Laramie Sport. I wanted the sportiest Ram I could have that was fully loaded. In 2009, I bought one. It had 22-inch wheels, had the Hemi in it, had panoramic sunroof, had every option in it. Except the only thing it didn't have was the e-torque system, because that was what I didn't want. And out the door, it was like $64,000 on the sticker, right? Fast forward to today, if I build that exact truck in Ram Truck's build configurator, now keep in mind, this isn't without incentives and all this other crap right now, but if I built that truck right now, obviously I couldn't get a Hemi engine in it, but it would be a Hurricane engine. That truck would be $76,000, $12,000 more than what I paid for mine in 2019, and it's only been 5 years. So that's really kind of messed up in a way. That's how much their vehicles have climbed. The thing is, you got high interest rates, and a lot of people can't afford $1,000 a month for a car. It's nuts. I mean, a lot of times these cars are more expensive, and I'm not even talking about something fancy. I'm just talking about a basic need of transportation is more expensive than their house payment. So Kuniskis is going to have to come in, and what he's going to have to do, we've already seen Antonio Filosa do it, some of it. I think he needs to be more aggressive on it, but what Antonio Filosa came in and did was started cutting prices on stuff immediately. And it wasn't about incentives. It was about, instead of putting incentives on stuff, let's just cut back the prices on everything on the lineup. So the Ram 1500, yeah, it's their best-selling vehicle, but the problem is sales for that truck right now have fallen this year by 24%. Like, the whole Ram lineup is 24% down in sales. And then you have to deal with, not only are you paying, like, let's say I bought that truck, $76,000. You have doc fees, you have title, you have license. Then you have to deal with the high interest rates, which right now the average interest rate is either, depends on your credit. Most of them right now are about between 5.8 and then 6.3%. So, I mean, it's kind of nuts. You're paying like $1,500 for a Ram 1500. Like, if you go and buy the new Warlock, the 2025 Ram 1500 Warlock, basically like the not stripped down, but the toned down Rebel, that's based on the Tradesman, that truck's $56,000. If you go buy that with the interest rates that they are, you're paying over $1,000 a month for that truck. And that's, I mean, a lot of people don't have 20% to put down, or they trade something in that they're back, they have money on top of it that they owe for that vehicle. So there's a lot of reasons why that these companies like the Stellantis aren't selling cars. It just so happens Stellantis is really struggling because all their cars are overpriced. So, like, I have an article coming out about the new the 2025 Hornet that I just drove. I was really impressed with that vehicle, but the problem is it was $54,000. Of course, they always send the media like the fully loaded ones, but $54,000 for a C segment crossover. And right now they can't even like sell them at all. And there's like, they got their power dollars on the hoods of them based on the horsepower, but the dealers are throwing cash on top of it. So why not just make the vehicle like that price instead of putting all this incentive crap on it? Make it so people are more apt to go to them. So this is the kind of stuff that Tim's going to have to find out. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does now that he doesn't have Carlos Tavares on his case, and that he can kind of run the brand the way he wanted it. For those naysayers who are complaining that there isn't a V8, there is another version of the Hurricane in the works. It's been very publicly noted by two sources. One was us at Mopar Insiders, because we, my co-editor Jared Belfort wrote an article about it. Let me see here if I can find Jared's article. Anyways, what happened was they launched the RHO, and they talked about there was a new, more powerful version of the Ram coming out in this new commercial. It was, hold Let's see if I can find it. Ram RHO. Could be a TRX. I can't remember what I put it under. Anyways, what they were doing was they showed off this commercial, and the guy who actually put together the commercial for the marketing team did a frame by frame analysis on his LinkedIn page, and there's little hints in commercials a lot. And one of the things that this hint for this RHO launch was that there was a motocrosser with a plate that said 540 on it, right? So what's 540? It's the 540 horsepower in the RHO. And then there was another motorcycle with them that had no plate. And on this guy's script, it said a blank plate for the new higher horsepower 3-lettered Ram pickup that's coming in the future. So it sounds like they're going to be building a Hurricane motor with probably upwards of 750 horsepower. So if they could do that, I think a lot of the people that were complaining about not having a Hellcat and not having internal combustion, up high performance vehicles, I think that will shut them up a little bit. I mean, it's still not a V8, but you kind of got to move on. I mean, I want a V8. I'm just like you guys. I want a V8, but it's nice to see some new products come in the lineup. So let's see here. So it's like musical chairs with CEOs after the election, or as far as we know, now we don't know anything. This whole Tim Kuniskis thing was a kind of a surprise, because what I heard was, like I said, I don't want to say this stuff on Mopar Insiders. There is a CEO person, or a person that had a huge connection with the company that supposedly they were in talks with. And one of the things I heard, that if this person came back to the company, Tim Kuniskis would probably come back with him. And from the sounds of it, if Kuniskis has come back, I don't know if this person's coming back or not, but I heard that they're in talks with this person. So hopefully it comes true. I don't want to say too much about it, just because I don't want to one, jinx it, and two, just I don't know too much about it. I've had a couple people talk to me about it, but I don't try to post things that I crazily don't know about. So, why does the new Charger need to be such a behemoth? Oh, you're talking about the overall size of the car? Well, I'll tell you what, the size of the car, I can't talk about the driving impressions of it, but the one reason why the Challenger, let's talk about the Challenger. Everybody talked about that thing being a big boat. The reason why the Challenger was so successful was it was a bigger car, but it offered larger interior room that you could fit. You would be cramped in the back of a Challenger if you put two adults in the back, but you could do it. And that was the thing. It was a usable everyday muscle car. This new car, I can say after driving it last night and actually spending time with it, the rear of the car is a lot more usable. Now, mind you, the new Charger, whether it's a coupe or a sedan, or I don't know if you would call it a sedan. I would say it's a four-door because it's a hatch, but they have the same wheelbase, 121-inch wheelbase. It's practically the same as the outgoing Charger. But with the hatchback design, you're getting more headroom. So if you've seen that picture from from Alex on Autos that they took out at Radford this past week, you've seen that it was back to back with a Challenger, and it looked a lot bigger, and it is a lot bigger. A person like me who's 6'1" could sit in the back and not have my head smashed into the ceiling. And with the bigger windows and stuff, you can actually see out of it, so it's going to be a lot more comfortable. But basically what it is it's on the sedan wheelbase. So it's a lot more functional room. And then with the hatchback design, you can put the seats down too, and you have tons of room. And honestly, it's kind of good in a way. I know people are complaining about the weight because it's a battery electric vehicle, but for utility-wise, I think people will reconsider buying a Charger, if not the two-door, the four-door for sure, because it's almost like a crossover now, because you can kind of put your stuff in the back, you can go shopping at Best Buy and buy a television set and put it in the back. People were hauling drywall and the stupid things during testing and that. So I mean, there's tons of things that you can do with it now. It makes it more appealing to people. The people who are naysayers about the design of this car, You have to see it in person. It is absolutely... I wouldn't say... There's a few flaws with it. And I'll be honest with you. I'm not... Even though I'm a huge Mopar guy, Stellantis doesn't pay me nothing to do any of this stuff. But the thing that I absolutely love the styling of it. I think they did an excellent execution of the styling. I could talk about what my impressions of the styling. I just can't talk about the driving. As for styling, the front looks good. The only thing I can complain about the front styling is the headlights. So before we had these really nice looking headlight designs, that incorporated LEDs. Now you have the whole grille that's outlined in an LED, which kind of looks cool. But now you have just reflector LED headlights, and they look kind of like they're thrown in there. The only thing I can say that's positive about the headlights, obviously they're bright, like super bright compared to the outgoing ones, is the fact that in the shade, because of how they're recessed, it kind of blacks out the whole front of the grille. So it kind of looks more like a 1970 Charger or 69 Charger. So that looks kind of cool. As for the back of the car, it looks a lot like the 2014 Dodge Charger that I had. It's got where the hatch goes into the glass, it's got a little bit of a flying buttress kind of look that kind of harkens back to the 60s. It's very squared. It's got those big hips. What people don't realize is everybody was complaining it doesn't have scallops. It doesn't have it's not a wide body. One of my biggest pet peeves was when Dodge came out with the wide body cars. To me, they're not wide body cars. They're fender flare cars. There's nothing wide about them. They were just fender flares slapped on it. Yeah, we got a little bit better front fascias and stuff on them, but they weren't wide body cars. This car is a true wide body, and I'll try to get some pictures. I'm hopefully going to get some more pictures this next week of it. I shot a little bit of video and stuff, but I want to actually shoot some drone shots of from the top down. This car is a wide car. Those 325s that are in the back on the track pack, you could put even wider tires and they'll still fit under the fender flares, or actually the fenders. There's no fender flares out of it. It's just a natural wide body, and it has a lot of good curves. That car is really, really attractive on the outside. And I think that's what I was saying to my buddy. I was like, hey, Dodge needs to get these cars in dealers. People need to physically sit there and touch them and see how they are. Because styling-wise, it looks great. Yeah, is it big? Yes, but you can actually put, I have teenage kids. Could I buy a two-door Challenger and have teenage kids sit in it? Yeah, but it would be cramped and they would be miserable. With what I seen last night and actually playing with the back of the seats and stuff, could you fit two adults back there and you'd have a lot more leg room. Even with me with the seat almost all the way back, whoever's sitting behind me has a lot more. It's night and day leg room difference than it was in the outgoing Challenger. Headroom's vastly improved, so Chrysler needs to bring back the 300s. I agree, and I don't understand why they don't use this. They could do it so quick with little investment, meaning not little. You'd still spend hundreds of millions of dollars developing a body and testing and all that stuff, but they could do it to the Charger, the new Charger. They could just throw a Chrysler body on it, and I don't think a lot of people would be upset if they seen something like this airflow, how it's kind of like this is obviously a crossover. But if you had a coupe, kind of like how the new Charger is, if you had a hatchback 300, I think people would be fine with it. I think there would be a lot of potential, I think there would be more potential for people to buy a 300 than there would be a Pacifica all-electric van. And that's the thing that cracks me up, is the Pacifica all-electric minivan that they're talking about. Minivans are the best vehicle all around. If you're a family guy, for long road trips and stuff, minivans are the best vehicle. Actually, it's funny, when in high school, my first vehicle was a Dodge Grand Caravan. It was a 94 Dodge Grand Caravan, and I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun carrying your friends around and going camping in it and doing all different types of stuff. But this vehicle hasn't even been developed yet, and the problem that it has going against it is first, it's electric. Electric vehicle sales are slowly declining. The people who own electric vehicles, 50% of them say they wouldn't go back to an electric vehicle because of the inconvenience. And it's a minivan. Minivan sales are still pretty strong for Chrysler. Obviously, they do better than like a lot of the brands that you see out there from Stellantis in Europe. Obviously, better than Lancia, DS, and all them. For having one vehicle in its lineup, really one vehicle, because I really don't count the Voyager and Grand Caravan and the Pacifica Hybrid as their own things. I count them all as one. That vehicle does pretty good. The only thing is, when you have like a Durango versus a Pacifica, the Pacifica is actually cheaper, it has more room in it, it's more functional. The problem it has is it's got the stigma of a minivan. It's a soccer mom car, and that's why people buy SUVs. Yeah, the Pacifica might be the better bet, but if you don't want to be stuck with that soccer mom thing, that whole mantra, then you're going to go with something else. So if you build something that's already got two strikes against it, being an EV and a minivan, I don't know. It'll be very interesting what they come up with. So the Dodge Magnum was great. It was a great car. The only flaw with the Magnum was it was so like chopped. The roof line in it, you couldn't see out the back at all. It was like a blind spot nightmare. But back then we didn't have backup cameras and stuff. With today's technology and like the 360 cameras, dude, it would be awesome to see something like that come back. This new Charger Daytona reminds me a lot like the functionality of the Magnum, because you have that hatch. I think people will be surprised if you haven't seen the car in person. It's kind of weird for me to say this because you can go see the car in person at an auto show, but you don't get your hands on it. I think once people actually like go up and see this car and see how it is and get their hands on it and see how it's designed, I think they'll be really impressed. The hatchback design, I was really kind of bummed out that it was a hatchback at first when I first seen the Banshee, but now to me it's ingenious. It looks just like a sedan, but it's a hatchback, and after seeing like how much stuff you can fit in it and how usable it is, I would actually consider, like I said, I have two teenagers. If I'm not saying like Daytona or six pack or whatever, I could see like somebody like me who doesn't like who wants a sporty muscle car, even if it's the 4-door, and wants utility. Instead of going to an SUV, you could opt for an all-wheel drive Charger. So no need for concept. Bring the Rampage now. The Rampage is a cool truck. I hope to God Tim Kuniskis basically kind of looks into the Rampage. If you guys aren't familiar with the Rampage, let me see if I can bring it up real quick. I've talked a lot about it on Mopar Insiders. It's won a ton of awards. It's actually almost tripled Ram sales in Brazil. It's basically built on an extended wheelbase Jeep Compass. And the front doors, the A-pillar, and the windshield are straight off the current Compass. So what this is the older, basically it's what they call their small, wide 4x4 architecture, but it's called with a long wheelbase. But dimensions-wise, it's almost identical to the Ford Maverick. The only difference between this and the Maverick, really, is that this is... What people don't understand is Ram's second biggest market isn't Canada. Ram's second biggest market is Brazil. And down there, in Brazil, there's like a ton of agricultural stuff where like farmers have tons of money down there. But the average person doesn't. So like the average person I think makes like $17,000 a year US, if that. So the market down there for small cars and stuff is massive. But people were buying Ram expanded their Ram 1500 lineup there, their 2500 and 3500 lineup. But some of the most popular vehicles are actually the biggest selling vehicles down there are Fiat trucks. Fiat builds 3 distinct trucks down there. One is it's an evolution. The newest one is an evolution of a Chinese truck that actually is sold as a Ram in Mexico called the Ram 1200. The Fiat Titano. The Titano It's okay. It's got a 4-cylinder engine in it, and big whoop is a turbo diesel. And they will have we have an article about its sister vehicle, the Peugeot Landtrek, tomorrow, first thing in the morning on Mopar Insiders, because they just updated that vehicle for the Middle East and Africa. But that's first thing tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. But as for the Rampage is its own thing. They actually, Fiat had their Toro, which was even smaller than the Rampage, but Ram used it as the Ram 1000 in places like Colombia, Costa Rica, Chile, and it was very successful there, to the point where Ram actually started saying, hey, we're going to develop our own truck for that market. Now, the Rampage was actually designed not in the U.S. It was aided by the U.S. design team, but was designed in Brazil, and they did an excellent job on this truck. They tested it here in the U.S. I've seen it on the roads here. It's very attractive. The only weird thing is like the Maverick, it doesn't have a dividing box line. It's a unibody truck, but there's no separation of the box from the actual cab. Overall, like I said, same size. It's got 2 engines. It's got a 2-liter Hurricane 4, so it's the same engine that we see in the Wrangler, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all that. It's got 272 horsepower down there. Plenty of horsepower. It's actually the biggest, or most powerful Brazilian-built vehicle with that 272 horsepower. But it's considered a premium vehicle down there. So they just introduced a Bighorn edition, a Bighorn trim that's supposed to cut costs, but all of them come standard with 4-wheel drive, unlike the Maverick, which has front-wheel drive. It also has a 2-liter, the cheaper models are actually a 2.2-liter turbo diesel, and that thing's got, it's a brand new engine. I can't even remember how much horsepower is in it. I want to say it's 200 horsepower, and I think it's 350 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. And but yeah, all of them are premium vehicles down there. So you're not buying super cheap. Ram is a premium brand. Ram is actually the second best-selling premium brand, and they compete with vehicles like Maserati, Mercedes, and stuff like that. But Ram is considered a premium brand there. So, is really tiny compared to the Rampage? Yes. And Mike knows this because he actually sent me pictures of one that he's seen the other day. The Rampage is actually the size of the original, or not the Rampage. The Ram 700 is actually the size of the original 80s Rampage. It's a little bit bigger than that, but it's small. That one's only front-wheel drive based. Should have V6 options. Well, the thing is with this truck, if it had 4-cylinder, if they just brought it here with just the 2-liter Hurricane 4, it could compete really well with the Maverick. I think the Maverick would probably beat it because it's got that hybrid. What the engine is it? Was it 2.5 hybrid? I think it's a 2.5 hybrid system, but they have this year the Maverick's actually getting hybrid engine with 4x4. So that's gonna be very interesting. But if they could put the Hornet's 1.3 liter engine from the same engine that was used in the Renegade in this thing, which they actually use that engine on this platform, because the Renegade is actually the same, it's a smaller wheelbase version of this platform. They could put the 1.3 in this and put electric all-wheel drives, making it a hybrid. This thing would be killer. It would have 280 horsepower and 380 foot-pounds of torque. It would be awesome. But the interior is phenomenal. It's small. You got to remember, it's not a mid-sized truck. Everybody thinks it's a mid-size by the pictures. It's a compact truck. So think Ford Maverick versus Ford Ranger. But the styling looks nice. Technically now they have 4 trims. They have the Bighorn, which is the base trim. They have the Laramie. They have the Rebel. And this one here is the RT. So they still use the RT moniker even for Ram down there. And the RT is really sporty, and actually, believe it or not, it's one of the most popular versions of it. So, and the Rebel, by far, if you've seen the Rebel look, the Rebel is, I think, the most popular one that they sell right now. So, it's very capable off-road. The interior looks really good. It's got a very similar Uconnect 5 touchscreen. I think it's like, what, 10.1 inch screen? But it does share a lot of stuff with the Compass. All of its running gear is basically the same that's in the Brazilian-built Commander, which is basically a Compass 3-row, and the Compass. So basically all the trail-rated stuff that you would get on like the Trailhawk Compass is in this truck. So it's tight. You can see how small. Let me blow this up a little bit. You can see how small the armrest is in it. So for like big guys like me, I'd be kind of cramped. But I mean, if you could bring this truck here and start it out with front wheel drive and, just a bare bones version of it, like a tradesman version of it for like, let's say 23,000, it would do really good. The thing is, if you price these out and convert it to American dollars, a Rebel Rampage is about $45,000 to $47,000. The RT is close to about $48,000, $49,000. The Bighorn down there is close to about $38,000. So you can see that because they have standard all-wheel drive and they have all these like more and more tech stuff in them, they're more expensive. If they can kind of strip that down a little bit and make it more for America, or even build it here so they don't have to pay the import taxes on it, so it'd be cheaper. Like this truck would have been great to build at Belvedere. Because Belvedere, right now, how it's set up is a unibody plant. They built the Cherokee. The Cherokee was a unibody vehicle. They could build this there, no problem. And trust me, I think if this truck could come out and it was started at like low to mid 20s and went up to about 45, 46,000, like I wouldn't even make a premium version of this truck. Like just make like some base. Like the Rebel would probably be the most premium vehicle I'd bring to the whole lineup. I mean, I would even doubt about bringing, a Laramie one with all the like special leather and all that stuff in it. Like, who cares? But if they could bring a small compact truck like this to market here that they already have, and bring it so it can fit in your garage and get halfway decent gas mileage, I think this truck would sell so good here. The problem is like everything else Stellantis, they have to pack all the features in it, so you don't get a bare bones truck. So unfortunately, it costs more money. So the thing is, they build the 2-liter Hurricane 4 here in the U.S. They could do a lot of stuff to cut down the cost. I think it would do really, really well here. So, and it's even got Easter eggs. It's funny because if I go back, let me see if I can go back and show you some pictures. This is the Bighorn edition that they just launched. There's the Laramie, and then let's see here. They had, I don't know if I got any really good pictures of it. They have this really cool taillight design. And even though it wasn't, you can kind of see it here. Let me zoom in. They have an American flag hidden in the rear taillights. They actually have stars in it, and the backup light is what lights up the stars, but the stripes are the part of the turn signal. So it's just like a normal Chrysler vehicle, like Chrysler designed vehicle here in Auburn Hills. It's got Easter eggs. It's got tons of function. I'm going to see if I can find... There's one picture I have on here somewhere that is... Let me see. Semi-axle. See, here's the Rebel there, but there's a picture of it that's articulating. So it's built just like... See, here's an article I wrote back in September about why this truck would be so good here. Yeah, I don't have any doubt. It just needs to be cheapened. It can't be in the price range that it is down there here. And the honest to God's truth is the price for the truck here, or there, I mean, is not far off from what Ford sells the Maverick down there for. But if you do all the interior dimensions and stuff, it is almost identical to what the Maverick is. So I definitely agree with that truck. For the guy asking the Turbo 4, yeah. And there's another thing here too that people don't know is you're going to see a new Hurricane 4 engine coming here to the States. It's going to debut hopefully in the Grand Cherokee for 2026. they can't put the Hurricane inline six in the Cherokee, the Grand Cherokee. The reason why is when it was developed, it was built for the Hemi and the Pentastar, but the problem is the Hurricane's actually longer because it's an inline motor. It's narrower, but it's longer, so it won't fit without huge amounts of investment and basically redeveloping the whole front cradle of the platform. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna put a new, basically it's a 2-liter Hurricane 4 Evo. It's the next evolution of that motor. They're gonna have, I believe I heard that there's gonna be a standard output and a high output version. But the Grand Cherokee should have the standard output one, and it should be like 300 horsepower. So, and that will be a standard engine across the lineup. We know that for sure. So for 2026, like if you want a V6 powered Grand Cherokee, buy one now, because when 2026 hits, even like the hybrid already has it, the 4xe has it already, the 2-liter, but every one of those models will be a 2-liter Hurricane engine one. So. The problem is, if they put a V6 in this truck, you would have to re-engineer the whole front end on it, and you're looking at tons of investment money and stuff that would have to be spent, and it would just go into the cost of the vehicle. If, like, hopefully with this new mid-size pickup that's coming out, that they're talking about, like Christine Fuel said that Ram is working on an all-new mid-size pickup. That's the pickup. That's the truck that was supposed to make its debut, this is what's sad, in 2027, and it was supposed to be built at Belvedere, but it's been pushed back. And that's the vehicle that the UAW has been having a fight with. But she said some pretty interesting things, that it's going to happen no matter what. It's going to be based for the North American market, but it's going to be sold globally. But there will be an electric version of that for sure, and more than likely probably a 4-cylinder version of that, or maybe even a 6-cylinder. We don't know yet. So, but that vehicle won't even make it to market until 2028. So, and that's the problem. When it was Chrysler Corporation always set the standard. They were innovative. They did stuff like, kind of push the limits of things. They were innovators. And ever since Daimler Chrysler came in, they weren't innovators anymore. They were followers. And the problem is now it's got to the point where, like, if you look at the new, like, Colorado and stuff, the Colorado's been out for a while, and so is the Canyon. Ranger's back with another generation of Ranger. This is the second generation of Ranger that's been back since they brought it back. And they're still, they're not selling huge numbers of them, but they're still selling. And where's Ram? Doesn't have it. But why not bring something that you already have suppliers in the pipeline for? You have it built. It's proven. This is a proven vehicle that's already been out and whatnot. Cheapen it up a little bit, and I think it would sell really well. So in general, won't be any more V6s in any vehicles. No, there's going to be tons of V6s in vehicles. I never said that there weren't going to be any. The new Ram Charger, Ram 1500 Ram Charger, that's going to use a Pentastar V6. The V6 isn't leaving the Gladiator anytime soon. They're going to have a 4-cylinder, obviously a 4-cylinder hybrid model coming out next year. But if you get a standard non-hybrid Gladiator or Wrangler, depending on the model, obviously for the Wrangler, but if you get a Gladiator, it'll be V6, it'll be a Pentastar. Pentastar's not going away. They've actually invested quite a bit of money in the Pentastar. The Pentastar is a good motor. It's a solid V6 engine. I've had, 3 of them now? And I've never had a problem with them. Everybody complains, they burn oil and stuff. As long as whenever I hear about these people say that, my engine burns oil, it doesn't matter. Like, I owned a Mercury Milan for a while, just to get back and forth with work. And everybody was saying, that thing burns oil like crazy. I never have had a vehicle that just burns oil like crazy as long as you maintain it. So, let's see here. The Mopar Junkie, is Tim Kuniskis back with Dodge? No, he is not back with Dodge. He's only with the Ram truck brand. And when he left back in June, he actually was running Dodge and the Ram truck brand. So he's just coming back. Matt McClure, who is running Dodge, was actually the head of marketing for Dodge when Tim was there back in like May. Matt was kind of like Tim's apprentice. So all the plans that were going forward, like with the brand, Matt's actually following that formula. So, and I'm sure they're going to talk. I mean, I was at Roadkill. I was at the Woodward Dream Cruise this year at the Dodge exhibit. Jay Leno shows up with the Chrysler turbine car. It was really cool. And I'm sitting there taking pictures, and I backed up right into Tim Kuniskis, and he's hanging out with Mark Trossel, the head of Dodge design and stuff like that. Tim's still a diehard Mopar guy. He was there even though he was retired and left the company. He was still hanging out with those guys, still driving on Woodward, still a car guy. So what people don't understand is like, these guys still talk. I mean, he knows what's going on in the company. So, but the V6, the Pentastar V6 is going to stay for a while. We're going to see the Pentastar even have a more important role, because with the Ram Charger, we're seeing it being used as a generator. Now in the Ram Charger, it won't power the wheels. None of the Pentastar's power goes to the wheels. It doesn't drive the wheels at all. It actually powers the battery pack. What the Ram Charger is picture a Ram Rev, but instead of having a bigger battery pack, it's got a smaller battery pack. Ditch the frunk and put a V6 motor in it that is basically a generator. So basically you can fill it up, you can put gas in it, and let's say your battery dies, like you're running low on battery and there's nowhere to charge it, or you don't have time to charge it. You can take and fill up the gas generator, and the Pentastar is big enough where it will just it'll charge the batteries enough so you can keep going, and it won't hinder performance at all. But if you have a fully loaded tank of gas and a fully charged battery, the Ram Charger, so far in testing, it will give you 670 to 690 miles of range. So that's crazy. But that platform, that architecture, that Stella frame architecture with that that Pentastar with the electric motors, basically that is going to go into the Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer next year. So not 2025, but 2026, we should start seeing 4xe models based on that. And then eventually we will see full electric versions of the Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer. Yes, they should expand in that and other products. Yeah, they will. So, but yeah, for the most part, North America has certain engines that it uses. It's going to be using more 2-liter Hurricane 4s. Like I said, you're going to have the new Evo version. So as far as I heard, the Evo should be on par with like the Explorer ST with horsepower and torque. You do have the Pentastar V6s that are still going to be around in several vehicles. Like obviously they're powering the Pacifica Hybrid, the normal Pacificas. We're going to see more. We're not going to see like the Pacifica or the Pentastar used on every vehicle like it was back in 2011, but we're going to see it used in several vehicles. The Pentastar is not being phased out by any means, and then we're going to have the Hurricane engines too. So there's going to be there's the EDMs, the electric drive modules for the electric vehicles, and we might even see some new hybrid technology. Like we said, we're going to see a 1.6 liter hybrid, which we've actually seen the patent. We've seen the patent for the new transmission that they're using for it. It's going to be a 3-speed transmission, which is different. Let me see here. But it's a 3-speed transmission, and it's made for EVs and hybrids, which is really interesting. So this right here, I posted this picture here. This is the Wagoneer S Trailhawk. It looks a lot different than the actual Wagoneer S. A lot of people have told me that this kind of the interior looks totally different than the I don't have the interior pictures up here, but the interior looks totally different than the Wagoneer S. It's a hint. This is a major hint at what the Cherokee is going to look like. And during the EV Day presentation back in 2021. Jeep showed one of these pictures here that of what looks like to be the Cherokee. As you can see, it's not the Wagoneer S. It's got a more upright grille. It's got a grille down here. But what kind of throws us off is we don't know if it's a 3-row SUV or if it's a 2-row. So it'd be very interesting if they make a 3-row D-segment SUV. But if you look, it's very similar. The mirrors are the same that are on this one. It shows it here as a BEV because they were just highlighting the architecture. They actually showed a Hornet on this one too, but they also showed the new Recon image on this. But according to this, I mean, it's going to be very similar in shape. They're going to be built on the same assembly line. They're going to use a lot of the same parts, but nonetheless. Let's see here. Trying to go through and see if anybody says something. The 3.6 is fantastic as long as they are maintained. Yes. Never had an issue with the 3-liter, 2.7, or 3.6 V6. So, I actually had a 2001 Sebring sedan LXI that I drove quite a bit. And it was a 2.7 liter. It had 200 horsepower. It was okay. It wasn't like the fastest engine at all. And it was given to my sister, who didn't change the oil in it hardly at all. And she seized it up because it burned oil because she didn't maintain it. So the 2.7 was not the greatest engine, but as long as you maintain it, it was fine. I've had two 4.7 liter Magnum V8s in Durangos, and I've had people say those are the crappiest engine that Chrysler's ever built. The 4.7 liter V8, believe it or not, is my favorite V8 that I've ever owned. It's bulletproof. As long as you maintain it, it's bulletproof. It was single overhead cam. Love that engine. It was a great motor. So yeah, going back to it, Kuniskis, man, he's got a lot of stuff going for him, to get done with for Ram. But there's a lot of stuff coming out. I mean, it's just, they have to get the product out there. I know, like, one of the things that Chris Fuel said, too, in LA was, we heard that they're bringing back the Ram ProMaster City. So for the commercial side of Ram, that's not, like, Ram trucks aren't the only thing Kuniskis is going to be dealing with. He's going to be dealing with vans, like the Ram ProMaster EV, obviously the Ram ProMaster City. The Ram ProMaster City is due out next year. That's going to be strictly a BEV, but that's more for, like, delivery vehicles for, like, local cities and stuff. So I don't think the BEV whole thing will kill it, but I don't see that an all BEV lineup would be that great for sales. So I'm hoping we will see something else with that one. 4.7 was the last AMC engine. Yeah, it was. Basically, it was. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much stuff to talk about. But one thing I will say before I'm planning on getting off of here because I have so much stuff to do. But Kuniskis wasn't the only thing that was talked about today. Okay, so one of the other things was Chris Fuel. Obviously, she's not the Ram CEO anymore. She's still the Chrysler CEO, but she's got another role that she picked up today. Basically, Larry Dominique, who ran Alfa Romeo in North America, he's retiring. So basically, she is picking up. She's also going to be the head of Alfa Romeo North America. And there isn't much going on with Alfa Romeo in North America, so it's perfect for her. There's only one vehicle that we know about that's supposedly destined. I think it'll be canceled, but supposedly there's an Alfa Romeo E segment, so basically a Grand Cherokee size SUV that will be built alongside the Grand Cherokee in Jefferson. We've seen documents of it. I can show you. There's leaked documents from Stellantis saying that there's this new Alfa Romeo vehicle that's going to be produced at Jefferson Avenue. This is just a rendering I did, but right here, this was leaked, and as you can see here, it says Stella Large, right? So we know the Giulia is going to be on Stella Large, the Stelvio, those are built at the Casino plant in Italy, right? But under here we see Stella Large, right? And there's this new, it says VP program, so this is called A6U. And it says ECUV EV. So it's going to be strictly an EV, and it's due to be built at Jefferson North in Detroit. So, and the very interesting thing is Alfa Romeo doesn't sell many vehicles to begin with. Like, many people don't know that Alfa, like the Jeep Avenger in Europe, the new little subcompact Jeep Avenger has been doing really good for Jeep over there. And that vehicle, just in European sales, outsells the entire Alfa Romeo brand globally. So that one little vehicle, and they actually Alfa Romeo has a vehicle based on that platform coming to market. So it's going to be kind of funny to see if they do anything with that. But if you look here, it says 2027, so it looks like it's going to be released in late 2027. And these are figures that they project. They think they're going to sell about 2,000 units before the end of 2027. In 2028, they think that they're only going to sell about 10,715 units. So that production is going to be super low. I don't see why they would develop an Alfa Romeo E-segment vehicle when Alfa Romeo sales have been so crappy here in, basically North America in general. So, especially when you have the Stelvio coming. The Stelvio and the Giulia are going to be based on the Stella Large, and what we know is the Stelvio is going to be launched here in the U.S., supposedly with the Quadrifoglio model, which will mirror the Dodge Charger SRT Banshee powertrain. So that'll be very interesting. So, but yeah, her job shouldn't be too hard for her coming, with this new job title. And then, of course, they basically took their they got a new sales director. Basically, their head of commercial sales is now the head of North American sales, which has been a position that 4 people have had in the last 2 years. So, like I said, if you look at Stellantis overall, their sales are down 17% in the first 9 months of this year. Now even more going into the fourth quarter. And Ram's down 24% so far. That's what we know because they only released their sales numbers now by the quarter for the U.S. So Kuniskis has got a lot of stuff going for, on his plate right now coming into this to fix it. But the first thing he can do is cut cost, meaning not cut people, but cut the cost of the vehicles. Forget the cutting cost of, quality and all this stuff and firing people for the company. They need to cut costs on their vehicles so they sell more vehicles. The whole point was Tavares had this idea that if you sold more of a premium vehicle and sold less, even though you sold less of them, you could make money or save money and make money better, because if you're not building as many vehicles, you don't need as many workers at the plant. 1, so you're saving money there on payroll. And then 2 is if you sell a premium vehicle, you're making more money, so you don't need to sell as many. So that's just how he thought about it. Why is it taking so long to launch the Chrysler product? Well, there's a couple reasons why. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't know if you were on here when I was talking about it. So that airflow product, airflow vehicle that we talked about, this thing, it was almost ready for production. They have mules of it. They had tons of stuff, but she canceled it because she wanted the styling to be different. Now, mind you, it's not like the most attractive vehicle, but compared to like a Tesla Model X that it competes against, it's not bad looking. It looks like a Chrysler to me. It looks kind of like a little bit of Chrysler 200, the outgoing, like the old Chrysler 200 in a way to it, but she wanted to look more like the Halcyon concept. So they spent all this money developing the Halcyon. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Halcyon. The Halcyon concept, which was this thing. This is a Stella Large car. That's a pipe dream car. It was an electric car that supposedly didn't have range. It had unlimited range because it runs on electric charging tracks on the road. So everybody thinks it's a cool looking car that is from Chrysler. I think it looks nothing like a Chrysler. I would just say, let me see if I can shut the audio off on here. I'll show you guys. I'll pull it up. It looks more like an Aston Martin in the front. If you look at the actual front of it, it looks more like an Aston Martin than it does a Chrysler vehicle. It doesn't look anything like a Chrysler. There's no brand heritage at all in this design. I love the wheels on it. I think the wheels are probably the sharpest thing on it. The interior, it's all pipe dream stuff. The steering wheel folds in, all that stuff. Obviously, it's just a concept, so I don't understand why they would spend so much money on this when they need product in their dealerships. Like, dealers are even ticked about this concept because it's a concept. There's not product in the dealers. So, and this car is not coming to production by any means necessary. So, I don't know why they spent all this money. But according to Christine Fuel, the Chrysler brand is going to be all electric by 2028. What irritates me is, as a diehard Chrysler person, I'm good friends with Frank Rhodes Jr., the great grandson of Walter B. Chrysler. And Frank calls me a lot, and we were talking, and he's putting on so if anybody's ever been to Carlisle for the Chrysler Nationals, it's a big deal. The only problem is I've never been to it because it falls always on Woodward Dream Cruise weekend. So Frank, when I originally bought my 2023 Chrysler 300C, he actually got the very last one. He's got a I'll show you. He's got the velvet red one. And his goal was to have all three colors displayed down there because next June is Chrysler's 100th anniversary. And with that being said, there has been nothing done to kind of like celebrate it. What the heck? Why? Let's just do last 300C. There's nothing like. There's been no mention to celebrate the celebration of the brand. And Frank is putting on this huge show down there. I mean, they're gonna have everything. They're gonna have tanks on display because there's gonna be war stuff down there from World War II that Chrysler built. Chrysler was known for building tanks. A lot of people don't know, like, Chrysler had their hands in everything. Like Frigidaire was owned by Chrysler. The Saturn V rocket that went to the moon was powered by Chrysler rocket engines. So Frank is getting a whole bunch of stuff. He's got he's working. When I talked to him the other day, he's almost done working on his Hemi air raid siren. It's an actual siren built during the World War II era. That was an air raid siren. Actually, correction, it was built in the 50s, early 50s, right after World War II. At the start of the Cold War, they wanted to build air raid sirens in case there was a nuclear threat. So they used a Hemi firepower engine in it, and he's got one, and he's fixing it up right now. And that will probably be there. But his 300 is going to be there on display, and he was going to have a black one in my car next to it because I had the white one. And unfortunately, I sold my car. But we talked about all this stuff, what's going on, and he's just planning this huge event. So I'm going to be down there. The cool thing is right now, I'm sure a lot of you guys know that I actually bought, with my dad, another 300. But it's not a 300C. It is a 1979 Chrysler 300. So my dad and I are debating on if we will take and get a car hauler and trailer it down. We probably will. Instead of doing Woodward Dream Cruise, even I live like a few blocks off of Woodward, so that would be like super convenient. But I want to go down there to celebrate the Chrysler's 100th anniversary. So there's going to be tons of Maxwells and all different types of stuff down there. So I mean, it should be a huge blast down there. So Frank has sent me some stuff. I should post it on Mopar Insiders about the event, but it's just so far out. But it should be a lot of fun. Let's see here. Kesley Hayes recalls. She had that position for 5 years and almost no product. She's been with the company since 2020. What was it? I'll tell you when she was with the company. I want to say it was 2021. Let's see here. Come on. And you know what the funny part is like Chrysler's hinted at other products. Let's see here. September 7th, 2021 is when she got hired in. That's when I did the article. So, and the funny thing is she replaced Tim Kuniskis from that position. So, yeah, at the time when she came in, Tim was running Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and at the time. So, kind of interesting. But nonetheless, there's been so much. Like, here's the first airflow concept, that white one. It's not a bad looking vehicle. It looks halfway decent. Out of all the things that are electric that they're coming out with, this probably made the most sense. Even more sense than the Wagoneer S. Let's see here. This right here was a teaser picture that they sent us of a Chrysler-bodied Stella Large vehicle. You can see it's got like a swooped back to it. Full body pan, obviously, a belly pan for aero, but it's a sedan. And look, it's almost like a hatchback. See how that sleek look to it? That would have been killer. They, matter of fact, they showed off another. Hold on here. I think I got a picture of it on here. Come on. Let's see here. Come on. My internet's going to start being slow. All of a sudden, I know it. But anyways, they had another picture that they showed of another vehicle during their EV days. Let's see here. Let's see if it shows. Right here. You can see this kind of matches up with this one. This one's got 7-spoked wheels, but you see how it slopes back and drops down in the back. If you look at this picture, this is another Chrysler. You can see, let me zoom in here so you guys can see it because I know it's hard to see. It's got Chrysler logos on the wheels. If you notice, it's a BEV. This is the Stella Large platform, so this is just them teasing it. This is part of their EV Day thing, but you can tell it's a hatchback design, short tail. I mean, that would be fine. I think people would be fine with a hatchback like sedan. I think that's probably one of the best features of the new Charger is the hatchback. It makes it so much more functional. So why not build something like that? And the funny thing is that she's actually teased. Chris Fuel has actually teased saying that sedans are going to be like an important thing for EVs. I think it was in this article right here. Let me see. I think I quoted her on this one. Over the past year, there's been reviewed optimism for a large Chrysler sedan after 2023. In January 2022, Chrysler CEO Christine Fuel informed Auto News that the automaker was in the process of developing a replacement for the 300 featuring an entirely fresh design. During the company's EV Day 2021 presentation, intriguing silhouettes of a more dynamically styled fastback coupe-like sedan were shown in the slides bearing Chrysler logos on the wheels. She also said that there was a thing where she was at a meeting in Detroit where she talked about how sedans were going to be more important to EVs, that she's seen that they were going to help EVs come back. So, I don't know. We'll see. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And if you hear people say, like, this is happening, it's not true, because every day everything's changing, like, so quick. Like, you got to remember, a week ago, Carlos Tavares left the company. And now Stellantis is rejoining other automakers to fight emissions in Europe. They literally filed today. They reapplied with that group today. You're seeing a lot of different changes. You're seeing stuff boosted up. You've seen production for ICE vehicles are in demand. They're moving the production of the Charger up for 5 months. And right now, they're building 4-door 6-pack Chargers at Windsor for pilot production. So we're actually going to see them pretty soon. So, all right. I think I'm going to be getting off here pretty quick. Anybody have any other questions or anything to comment about Tim Kuniskis' return to Stellantis as the Ram brand CEO? I'm curious to know what you guys think. I mean, I know everybody's kind of excited about Kuniskis coming back, but I'm curious to know what everybody thinks about it. You think it's a good thing? Obviously, I know most of you will say yes, but what's your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think that Kuniskis could do to improve the brands, or improve the Ram truck brand? I say the first thing is cut cost. Instead of putting huge incentives on those vehicles, just cut that cost down to the actual pricing. If they could come out and say, hey, we're going to cut the cost of, basically put it back to where it was in 2019, I bet you people will start buying stuff again. And I guarantee if he said, hey, we're going to start penalizing dealers that put, added cost on our vehicles, I think people would be very happy about that. Let's see here. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think he's got a lot of potential coming back, so let's see if we got anybody writing here. There's a couple other things I'll go through while I'm waiting for comments. Yeah, like, look, here's the picture of the interior of the airflow. This is during software day. I'll show you, like, here's the inside of the airflow. Each seat got its own Uconnect system. See, it was more than a concept. I mean, it was close to production. Even if you see the steering wheel, the lighted stuff was BS, but all the gauges and stuff, like the Uconnect system and stuff, was all ready to go. Pay suppliers, cuts cost. Yeah. They, there's so many things that they can do. Just so many. For him to come back, they would have to offer him to be able to do his own thing. And that's just it. That's why I said I'm sure he's going to come in and do a lot of different changes. And again, it's not like this is happening in January. I mean, we're, what, a week and a half out from Christmas? 2 weeks out from Christmas? And he's on the job effective today. Will they be selling the police 4-door 6-pack Chargers before the civilian models? I would think. No, as far as I know, I think they're supposed to be teasing us with an actual concept version here pretty quick. But it's going to be a Daytona. I showed pictures of it. Somebody sent me photos. Let me see here. Somebody sent me photos of. It was actually a guy who was at a law enforcement show, and they had a poster board up at the Dodge Law exhibit, and it was this. So this is what the Charger Daytona Pursuit's going to look like. This is not a Scat Pack. This is the RT. So this is going to have like 496 horsepower, probably 450 if you really want to get realistic. But the car looks good. I think it looks really good. And the thing is, people are complaining, like, they're going to have a 4-door ICE model for sure. The ICE model is definitely going to outsell the Daytona. I think the ICE models will outsell the Daytona probably like 6 to 7 to 1. And the reason why I say that is they're still going to need the Daytona. People don't understand the Daytona is still an important part of the Dodge Charger lineup. Even if Trump is coming in to let's say cut stuff, like EPA regulations and stuff, you still have states like Gavin Newsom runs California, and he keeps putting more and more crap on the CARB. And I think there's 11 CARB states right now. I want to say 11, because I know Virginia backed out. I thought there was 12 altogether, but I think there's 11 of them. But by 2032, California plans on having no internal combustion engines produced for anything. I'm not talking about just cars. I'm talking about if you're a landscaper and you got a zero-turn lawnmower, it better be a actual, battery electric. And it makes it even better because when you have a grid that's going to be maxed out, which they already do, they already tell people not to charge their cars during certain parts of the day. Generator-wise, you can't have generators that will be internal combustion either. You're going to have battery-powered generators, which is hilarious because if you have a hospital, like I used to be a long-term care administrator, so I ran like assisted livings. And we would have power outages for a couple days. I don't know how you're going to run a whole hospital without having a diesel-powered generator or a long-term care facility without a diesel-powered generator. I just don't know. I mean, we went through... There was a couple times where I went through like 3-4 days without power. So, I mean, we had to have companies come in and refuel our generator, and with diesel power, obviously you don't turn it off, so you just fill it back up. But the problem is, I don't see how the hell this stuff's going to work, but for states like that, not getting political, for states like that, the Daytona fits in perfect. I mean, they're already having a trouble selling Tesla cop cars, so I think with Dodge electric police cars, I think that they will probably have a better grip on the market out there, especially for like, highway enforcement and stuff like that. It'll be very interesting to see how they do. So, but as for the Daytona or the Pursuit models, the civilian models will be production at about the same time that the Pursuits should. So, but we should see a Pursuit very, very quickly. There's that one picture. Here's the other side picture. These are the RT wheels. I don't know if they're going to have different wheels on them, but this is the concept. You can see right on the board here, it says concept vehicle and features shown. So, but we're going to see something very close. Here's the back of it. And I'm really curious to know, because with the hatchback design on the Charger, they're going to have to come up with a special like separation thing to keep the guys out of the hatches of it. For like if you have a perp in the back, they're going to have to come up with a special cage or something. I'm sure Mopar will. That separates them from getting into the hatch where your equipment and your obviously your servers for all your laptop stuff and your and your lights and everything are. So it'll be very interesting. All right. Other than that, I think I am ready to get off. So if you get a chance, make sure to go to Mopar Insiders. We try to post 3-4 articles a day. It doesn't matter what what kind of news it is. I just did a thing about premium auto on the 2025 Grand Wagoneer, and this video's actually got Ralph Gilles in it. This is for the 2022, but it's really cool. It talks about the 1375 watt sound system in that, in which if you haven't had a chance to experience the Grand Wagoneer's Macintosh system, it's probably the best audio system out on the planet. So that's really cool. We do a lot of auction stuff. Like right here, there's this Hellcat powered 1968 Charger that's going to go up at at Mecum in Kissimmee in January. Pretty cool car, 68 Charger Hellcat powertrain. And the weird thing is, it doesn't have a 8-speed behind it. It's got a 3-speed 727, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then, recalls, any Chrysler recalls you're looking for, you can go on here and find them. I post everything about the recalls. And one other thing I do with the recalls is I always try to list the production dates of the vehicles, how many vehicles are effective, and I also give the recall the chronological stuff, that why they recalled it. So it'll go through all their stuff. So yeah, there's just tons of information. We are always doing stuff. Doesn't matter if it's old concept cars, everything. So if you get a chance, make sure to take and subscribe. You can go up when you click on the thing, it'll say subscribe. You can subscribe, so anytime we do a new article, it goes to your email. If you don't want to, you can unsubscribe. But we have a forum that's actually really, really good. A lot of people are on here. I mean, we got almost 6,000 people on here right now. So we do a lot of different stuff. It's cool to go on and talk to other Mopar people, not just hear it from Mopar people, but talk to other Mopar people about stuff. So as you can see here, here's the article about Tim. All these guys are on here talking about what they think about Tim Kuniskis and all that stuff. So, and again, we're not owned by Stellantis, so we're very independent. We're Mopar fans. We're not. We don't get paid from Stellantis or anything like that, but we are diehard Mopar people. So that's the cool thing about our whole website. And if you have a Ram 1500, we have the 5th gen Rams, which is dedicated to just the Ram 1500. We got a heavy duty website for HD Rams. That's going to be huge coming up, because we're more than likely going to see the 2025 Ram heavy duty here pretty quick at the Detroit Auto Show is what I'm thinking. But yeah, go on there. Like I said, you can follow us on Facebook. We have 53,000 members on Facebook. We have just under 20,000 followers on Instagram. There's a Reddit page now, which I post stuff to. There's Twitter. We're on Twitter, or X. So we're on all different types of social media. So if you get a chance, go out there and subscribe to those, and that way you can keep up to date with all of our information. And we do post, when I do different, when Jared and I do different events, sometimes we'll do live streams. Like he did the Toronto Auto Show last year. He did a whole bunch of live streaming from there. I did stuff from Roadkill Nights. Like this year at Roadkill Nights, they didn't have any drag racing at all because it was rushed. The whole event was put together in 2 days because the city of Pontiac actually canceled them from racing on the street, so they had to make something up. So unfortunately, that event wasn't broadcast. But guess what? Mopar Insiders was there, and we filmed a lot of the drag racing so people could see it. So that kind of stuff, different car shows, different car events. Being in Detroit, there's always Mopar stuff going on. So I try to record and do live streams. So if you can get on Facebook, especially Facebook, or the Mopar Junkie YouTube channel, which you're on, I try to post as much as I can. On the Mopar Junkie YouTube channel, this is my personal YouTube channel. This isn't, like, it really doesn't have anything to do with Mopar Insiders. I do post some stuff from here on Mopar Insiders, but this is my personal channel. This is where I come to talk about what's going on in the Mopar community, things that I'm doing, and like my cars and stuff like that. So if you get a chance, subscribe. This channel is actually, I don't make any money off this channel. This is just for fun. So it's very interesting because last year I had I just started this channel last year, and I think I had maybe 10 subscribers, and now it's up to almost 3,500. So it's kind of cool. So, but I like to engage with our people out there, and stuff like that. Then what people don't realize is Mopar Insiders is actually bigger than Dodge's own fan page, Dodge Garage. Mopar Insiders is actually the biggest Mopar-based website on the internet. We have anywhere from 1.2 million hits a month for on our articles to 2.1 million hits. That's huge. So it's kind of cool that we're actually bigger than Dodge Garage, and Dodge Garage actually cites us on some of their stuff, which is kind of cool. I went to Dodge Garage the other day, and it was funny because I get posted quite a bit on different articles and stuff on here. It's kind of cool seeing Dodge finally recognize us for stuff. So if you just let's just type in Mopar Insiders. Mopar Insiders. I know they spell it 2 different ways. Here's all the articles that I do. Especially they love the auction stuff. But you'll see they spell my name Steven S. I don't get that, but here's Frank Rhodes. Frank Rhodes Jr. just bought this 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona that's been completely not restored. It's exactly how it was, and he's doing some stuff to get it roadworthy. It basically drives and stuff now, but he's just putting I think he put new tires on it, a new battery, stuff like that. But it's cool. And the funny thing is I actually have. Frank is supposed to get with me. Matter of fact, hold on a second. I'll show you guys. Where did it go? As you guys can see, I'm a huge collector of die-cast cars. And Frank actually, like I said, owns this car. So I actually have a bunch of this car because Greenlight Collectibles actually made this car as a die-cast. So I think once we hit 5,000 subscribers on here, I'm going to have Frank sign this, and I'm going to give it away in a raffle. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just because it's cool. I'm going to have Frank sign one for me, too. I picked these up not that long ago, but this is his actual car. So if you go on, let me see here. If you go on to Mopar Insiders, and there's Frank's actual video of the car. You can see Frank's video from his YouTube channel. This is the car actually being delivered. But this is the actual die cast of the car. So I will try to have Frank sign this, and that way you guys kind of have a piece of really unique memorabilia that nobody else has. Obviously, I'll have one because I collect the stuff, but I want to try to do some small stuff like that. I'm not trying to get subscribers or anything, but I just think it would be kind of cool that people get really unique stuff. I was also so I do love die-cast cars. If you're ever interested in die-cast cars, I do a whole bunch of different die-cast stuff on here. Right now, yesterday, I had this dropped off to me. This is the new RLC Power Wagon. And this thing is freaking killer. I don't know if you guys can see that well. But we're going to be doing a video on those. So yeah, stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff. Matter of fact, today in the mail, I had somebody send me, I'm going to do an article on it first, is I'm going to have, back in the 80s, Chrysler did this VIP, Lee Iacocca did this VIP thing for anybody who bought a Chrysler product, that they gave out special keychains, and basically if you lost your key, somebody could throw it in the mail. Well, I bought the original, I went to go buy the original, like, keychains for them, and I was talking to the guy who had them, and he's like, hey, I have the actual set, like, the actual, like, case and everything that's untouched from 1980, I think, 1. And he's like, I'll send it to you. So he was cool enough to send it to me for no charge or nothing. And I got the actual keychains and stuff. So, like, I like to do different things on memorabilia, die-cast cars, all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I'm a huge Mopar nut. So if you guys get a chance to come on here and actually see stuff, you might be surprised. So if you guys don't like it, let me know. I won't do videos. I won't waste my time. But other than that, I'm trying to do more on here. So, like I said, hit the button to subscribe, and I'll see you guys probably later this week. There's going to be another video tomorrow posted, and I'm working on that Hornet stuff. I just been busy, but so stay tuned. More stuff coming, all right? Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you later. Bye.